We are live, y'all. We live. Hello, Facebook. Hello, everybody that's tuning in. Hello to the guests that are here. I'm so happy again to be here with you all on this afternoon. Turn afternoon really quickly. And I'm so happy to do this show, this segment. We are talking fatherhood. I think this is another important topic to hit on, especially in the Black community. We have so many things that have been said about fathers and stereotypes that I want to talk about a little bit today, but just the whole purpose of what fatherhood is and what it looks like to the fathers. Get it from their perspective, right? So again, thank you all for tuning in to the Hood Talks podcast. I am your host, Savannah. I am going to let these guys introduce themselves, but after that, I do want to get into our t-shirt giveaway. You know how we do every live show, we do give you the opportunity to win a t-shirt. I'll talk more about that after these guys introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Mr. Jerry. You're at the top. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our guests, please, and thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Jerry. Oh, Mr. Jeffrey, you just want to jump in front of me?
No. I misunderstood, man. I thought she said Mr. Jeffrey. She said Mr. Jerry. Go ahead, dog. Go ahead.
It's your wisdom. Again, my name is Jerry Kendall. I'm the Director of Employment and Reentry for Fathers and Family Support Center. You can go, Mr. Jeffrey, I think.
Thank you for the opportunity, my brother.
Thank you.
I'm Tony Jeffrey. I'm the facilitator with the Fathers and Family Support Center in the East St. Louis location. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Ogie.
I am Mr. Ogie. I have the privilege of working with Mr. Jared Kendall and Mr. Tony Jeffrey. I am the case manager for the East St. Louis site. And since it's about fatherhood, I'm a father of one. I've got a daughter who just turned 1 on the 9th. So, yeah. So appreciate that.
That first year down, that's a milestone.
Oh yeah. So yeah, she's a joy. I love being a father.
Yes. Mr. Damien, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Damien Evans. I am an East St. Louis representative. I'm representing my city proudly, standing tall and standing proud for my family, first of all, myself and my children that I have, and then the rest of my community. I had the pleasure of becoming a graduate from this program, Father Support Center, and I tell any male out there that's listening today, or whenever you all may receive this message, this program was really worth going through, man. So jump in when you need to. I'm serious. I don't care what age you may be. I'm a middle-aged man, Black man, and I'm telling you, it helped.
Kids help. Yes. And I want to thank you guys all for being here, and exclusively thank you to the Father and Family Support Center, because that's one thing I do know, that fathers need just as much support as mothers, and we don't have enough of these organizations, but the ones we do, I'm glad to highlight and talk about. So now that they've introduced themselves, I do want to go ahead and give a moment to say, for you all who's watching live, please go ahead, share this live, comment done, or let's do fathers again. Comment fathers, because it is fatherhood. Let's comment fathers in the comment section, and you will get the opportunity to win a Black Fathers Matter t-shirt, the Hood Talks podcast edition. Yes, I do have those out to grab. Hood Talk t-shirt is Black Fathers Matter. So again, make sure that you're following us on social media, you share this live, and you also are tagging fathers, saying fathers in the comments. So that's how you'll get an opportunity to win a shirt. And y'all, we're gonna go ahead and get into this conversation. Again, this is an important topic, especially to me, and I believe the Black community, period. Again, I feel like there's so many stereotypes that needs to be addressed around this subject. And again, I'm grateful that you guys are here to talk about it with me. But I do want to Damien, I'm gonna put you on the spotlight just a little bit.
Go ahead.
Just
No
a
problem.
little bit, because I do want to talk about the role of a father. And in your eyes and your perspective as a Black father, what is your role?
Well, I think that my role as a Black man is for my children to see, not only my children but other kids as well. Uh, is to show them what manhood can be like. I've gone down a I've gone down a road, just like many others that have had obstacles in their life. I'm one that's not afraid to grab my any child hand, because I was reared by the old. I hate to say it, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. The old timers. When I see some of my old timers, I say, "What's up, you timer?" Just and give them a nod and say, "Hey, I appreciate what you did for me." So now it's my turn to give back to these kids that have gone down my road, so they can get to this road that I'm on, so I can jump onto the next road that the old timers are on. So it's just about trying to show them a positive, everything that when you look at a Black man, there ain't always got to be a negative, stigma, because
Yes,
we're all not bad.
yes, I
So
agree. I do.
I
Thank
don't
you.
mind. I don't mind. I don't mind you picking on me at all either.
No,
So it's no big.
no, because I just love to hear it from the people's themselves. But I do think one thing that you said that I love is that it's levels. It's like like it's not just, you're not going to stay in one place at one time in your life. Like you're going to
No,
grow to the next level, and when you grow to
correct.
the next level, you get the opportunity to bring someone else on to the level that you've been through and share some light to
Yeah.
them. I love how you said that. Come on, y'all, jump in on this conversation as well, everyone else. And you're all fathers too. What is the role of a father? Please enlighten us. Anybody.
I'll say this, man. The role of the father has a lot of layers, and I think that if you begin to try to condense it down to just a quick word, we would do it a great disservice. I mean, we are providers, not just financially, but physically, emotionally. And a part of where society has written this narrative of dads being in the house is the fact that we aren't emotional providers as well too. We do set the compass for our children and how they begin to process emotions. When it's right to be mad, what's the right thing to be happy about, what's the right thing to be sad about. If I'm feeling anxious, how do I handle that? All of those things, we set the tone for that for our kids, and we balance each other off when you have mom and dad in the house. And so it is vital that we understand that being a father is multi-layered. It's not just simply about me making sure that I bring home the bacon, but some days you may have to fry the bacon up. Some days you're gonna have to make the bacon sandwich. It's a lot of layers to it, and it's not just simply one thing that can encompass all of fatherhood. There's so many layers to
Yeah.
I love that. I do. Yes, I think I totally agree. But how you said it was perfectly simple and straight to the point.
it.
Yeah, so I mean, I am, because I'm so motherhood. I'm a mom. So, and I think
Yeah,
that's what we
yeah.
also we don't know. And as women, I always say, like, we don't know what men go through. And it's like me trying to go and tell you how to be a man, or you trying to tell me how to be a woman. And it's not, it's like, so I really think in the Black community, what we need to do is more mentorship. And especially for fathers, because as we talk about as a mother, I don't know. You don't know. It's not a handbook for parenting. So
Yeah.
you only can go by how you were raised, or you can go by what you learned. So I really think fatherhood is something that we need to touch on, and mentoring more Black men, getting more mentors that are in the fatherhood position. What do you guys think around that? Like providing more resources to teachable, to help teach fathers how to be fathers or prepare them to be fathers, like all of that. Because we know fatherhood is emotional, it's stressful, just like motherhood. You know, we shout moms, but when, like you said, fathers are in the picture, they're doing is just as much work as moms are usually doing. You know, so it's like, how do we cater and help assist fathers also?
The village has got to go back to having a village again. What you said is so true about mentoring. But the problem is a lot of the real fathers have left a lot of the villages now. So, you know, unfortunately, when we grew up, I'll be about to turn 48, I was used to seeing men go to work every single day. I was used to seeing men cut grass. I was used to seeing men be men. And also we had men walking us to school and things of that nature. So to me, it's got to go back to, you know, unfortunately, there, like Mr. Jeffrey said, there's so many different layers, but, you know, back then men had emotions. Back then men cried. Back then men did a lot of different things. So we got to bring all that back to our community, because the only thing that our youth are really saying now is men being men, meaning being violent, being angry, being upset. So if we're going to come back into our community, it's almost like my brother that was from my East Side class just stated, you got to be able to deal with your barriers first before you can come back and start talking. Because if you still traumatized and still hurt and still mad, you're going to bring that same energy and anger back to the community and bring it back to those kids. So, but mentoring is very important. That's one thing that we do in our organization is we try to mentor all the men the same kind of way. And then, you know, the layers, like you said, it's so many layers of fathers. But the one thing that people fail to realize, we have emotions, we have feelings, we have the same issues as you guys have. We have low self-esteem issues too. We have confidence issues too, but we're taught not to let all that stuff out. And the one thing that we teach is it's okay to let all that type of stuff out, because you need to let that out so your kids can see it, so they can mentor better what it looks like to be a parent. And also that my dad has emotions. My dad is this, this, and this, as opposed to all we do is provide. All we do is take care of this. We got other emotions too.
You know, may I say something real quick? I want to piggyback off what Brother Jared said and Brother Brother Jeffries. You know what? There are some things I might step on somebody's toes, some woman's toes today, but you know, Black women, you got to sit back and stop holding that child's hand so much and saying I got to protect you from dad, because you know what? You know, your daddy don't pay child support. He don't do this. He don't do this. So I got to protect you from him. But you're not understanding that you're not helping set the tone for the next. So when he becomes a dad, he doesn't. You know what? My aunt told me this one thing, and I'll tell everybody on Facebook. I don't care. When it comes to my children, I will cry, because you know what? I've been through something. I know what it feels like not to have my kid wrapped in my arm when I need him to be, and when I want him to be there. But I'll say this: my aunt said this. The kid is not going to remember how much child support your dad paid. He's going to remember the most times that dad was there. He doesn't care if he picked up cans. I mean, he doesn't care about you picking up cans. He don't care about you cutting grass, doing any kind of laborer's work. That's what makes a man to me. I don't care about seeing the next cat out here with the big Maserati, the Mercedes, all that kind of stuff. What? That's just flashing, man. So what? But the kid, more importantly to me, you're showing that next child that you know what, you don't have to be a LeBron James. My daddy had a great work ethic, so I'm going to strive to be a doctor, a lawyer, something else that what the community needs. Yes. It's not all about playing sports all the time. My grandfather used to say this is, you know, he proved this one good point. My dad was a big jock for Illinois. He went to university. He went to go on to play professional. He went to go on to play college ball. Won some rings in college. Then goes on to play professional ball. But you know what? My grandfather always told him this: if you do not get your education, don't you count on going to hit nobody's football practice field. And I mean that. So we have to sit back and try to set a tone for the women, so we can reach our kids too. Because sometimes women, you all are holding the sons back from the fathers for what apparent reason, because you're upset, and that ain't right.
You said so much. You done dropped look, drop the mic. The episode is done. Because I mean, you hit everything. You just hit it off. Like, what else do we got left? But no, I feel you, and I understand that, and especially the part where you talked about fatherhood and being, I think what we have really lacked is that our children are cherishing the wrong people. You know what I mean? They're not cherishing the average day dads anymore, meaning like the people that's getting up, like you said, just doing work, whatever it is to bring money home, but that's just not it. You know, they washing the cars with their daddy, just the experience of being with the father. Like you said, they ain't gonna remember them Jordans that you brought, because for real, honestly, they don't care about them, because you mad, going around mad because they done messed them up, you holding about $100 shoes, but they ain't gonna remember that. They gonna remember playing in them shoes with daddy at the park. That's what they gonna remember.
But you know, the funny thing is they are cherishing these dads, but unfortunately they're cherishing these dads with bad behaviors. Unfortunately, they're watching their dads commit crimes, and they're committing crimes with their dads. Unfortunately, they're watching their dads get drunk. They get drunk with their dad. They're following their dad's footsteps, but unfortunately, they're following the wrong footsteps. And unfortunately, that's what we breed into our kids: that you got to be this killer, you got to be this man, you got to be a grown person when they're still trying to be a kid. So they're following their dads, but it's two different levels: being the dad, being a father, being there emotionally, spiritually, and financially, or just being there on another level. So they are following. I'm not going to take away from these dads, but it's what you put into your kids is the outcome of what we see in our streets.
Yeah.
That's a deep one.
Yeah. You know something, I want to double back to something that you mentioned earlier in regards to mentoring. A part of mentoring is it's a two-way street. For one, there has to be a person who's humble enough to reach out and ask for help. And the issue that we run into with it as men is we don't want to seem inadequate. And so if I say that I need help, then that's showing, in some cases, guys are feeling like I'm weak because I got this, and I need to prove to everybody I got it. But and then even if I've reached out in the past and asked for help, everybody that asked help from has let me down. So no, what do I need a mentor for? So there needs to be some humility to reach out, but also for the mentee needs to reach out, but the mentor has to be willing to walk with the person that needs to be mentored. It can't be just, I'll tell you what to do and I'm hands off. There has to be skin in the game on both parts.
Yep.
And so there's time being spent, there's conversations being had. There can be some times where you cry with the person that you're mentoring, and the person that's being mentored will cry with the mentor. So, you know, that there has to be skin in the game, because that's what really a father is doing, should be doing, is putting skin in the game. Not only do you carry my DNA, but man, I'm engaged in everything that's happening with you. One of the things I like to do is I like to have my biological dad come into our classes here and there and just give him an opportunity to share his point of view of what it was like being my dad growing up when I am facilitating our classes. And my dad has shared with one of our classes that my son couldn't get too far away from me without him looking around. And if he stops too quick, I'm going to stumble over it. Because he was so engaged in everything that was going on in my life. He was at my football practices, not just the games, but he came to practice. He coached me when I was a kid. He was a part of every aspect of my life, and he mentored me as my dad. And that's another layer of this fatherhood thing, is being completely engaged in everything that's going on in our kids' lives.
Yes. Well, y'all, it's amazing, but I think it's also great. This is what thing that, really, these topics is like, they're so important, and it's like to shed light on, you know, the perspectives of everyone, but really getting it from the sources themselves, I think, is important. So I totally agree with, like, I know we're on the same page when we're talking about mentor, but I also want to get into the stereotypes that we hear, because that kind of is what Jared was talking about too, like these stereotypes. Like you said, a lot of the Black fathers aren't in the household, or it's just the man's responsibility to bring in the money, because that goes back to kind of what Mr. Damien was saying. Like, now women are just expecting the men to be a money thing, or just paying, and that's not the source. That's not what is needed. So how do we, especially in our community, how do we change the narrative of these stereotypes. What can we do to help normalize what it really looks like for fathers and support that and rally around that?
You know what, let me go ahead and jump in. I've been listening and taking in everything so far. I would say, and I've actually heard Mr. Jeffrey say this in our class, that he had to get to a point where he was okay with Tony. And what that speaks to me is we have to get to a point of being secure within ourselves as fathers and as men in order to be able to present ourselves in a space where, excuse me, where we're not becoming those stereotypes that are so prevalent and pervasive in society. We're not deadbeats. We're not unable to hold a job. We know who we are first and foremost, and we seek to be whole and develop ourselves to the best of our abilities and be healthy, which is a word that we use often in our program and a word that has come up in this podcast. And so I feel that once we are absolutely secure with who we are, how we've been created, our purpose and our identity, that's another point too. A lot of us don't really know why we're here or what we're working toward or what our purpose is. And we don't know who we are. We don't know why we were given the name that we were given. We don't know our lineage, our bloodline. We don't know our father's father and on down the line. And so in my estimation, when we get to a point of when we truly know ourselves and we're okay with ourselves, then I feel like we're able to overcome those stereotypes, because those stereotypes are meant to paint a picture of who other people think that we are, but it's not the truth of who we are in ourselves.
And you know what, Mr. Ogie, I'm jumping real quick. We got to stop feeding into these stereotypes. We are just as much as blame as anybody else. We take on the idea it's cool to be a deadbeat dad or I'm a baby daddy. We take on these roles and we support the BS. Excuse my French. We support it. So you can't change your narrative if you're gonna keep supporting it. We like we take on the negativity. So if we're gonna keep on taking on the negativity, we're gonna have to carry the negativity on our back. But the day we say that I'm not a deadbeat dad, the day that I'm gonna fight to be in my child's life, the day that I'm gonna take on the systems for the right thing and not the wrong thing, that's how you change the narrative. We ain't gonna change the narrative what we're doing right now because we cool with it. We like these little stereotypes and all this type of stuff, but these stereotypes that they make movies about us, they sell billions and millions of dollars that we go support, they put it in our face that we're these type of people and we support that. And if we keep
we glamify it,
supporting this BS, we'll never change the narrative.
Yes, and yes, I agree. I think we glamify it. Like you said, we be like, you aim to be that. You take on that, like, okay, that's me, I'm right, and I'm a claim it. But it also goes back to what Ms. Ogie said. When you don't know any self and you can latch on to something, you're gonna latch on and hold on to that, because sometimes it don't even be the enemy. It be us who be like, don't take that away from me. I want to be that. And it's like, why? So you can be so much more. But it goes back to this: we don't know self. We don't have the low self-esteem that you talked about. We don't have the mentality. We ain't addressing the mental health part of it, because a lot of us have mental health issues that we're not even addressing. And I ain't just saying for Black men, I'm talking about in general though, but we know also in the Black community period that this is a big part of mental health. Is one of our things that we have a downfall, and it's contributing to the things that we hold on to that's toxic. So and then fatherhood, I can only imagine. I talked about this on the Black Men Heal show. When we talk about motherhood, we now are addressing the mental health around that, but we haven't really talked about the mental health around fatherhood. That's a change also for the father. So how do we address that also? I know we're tackling mothers, but how do we address father? Because this is a two-part household. This is a unified, this is a unity. So we can't address one without addressing the other, because like you said, Black men are there. They're there, but they're just not as healthy. And we're just talking about uplifting Black women, but what are we doing for the Black man to unify, to bring it together? How are we helping? So y'all jump in on that. Like, I mean, it's so many aspects to this.
Somebody else will go ahead on that one.
Let me say this. Okay, I'll dive in and I'll try to be quick so I can let you get to your point. Let me affirm the fact that yes, we do need to be uplifting our Black women. I believe it was Malcolm X who said the most I guess the most vulnerable person in the world is a Black woman. I could be misquoting that, but speaking to the vulnerability, because not only is she a woman, but she's also a Black woman. And so and then, so not only is she being taken advantage of by other races, but we as Black men are taking advantage of them as well too. And so we need to be fighting to make sure that we're protecting our Black women. But there's an aspect of for the Black man, the answer, the question still comes back to, what does manhood look like? And because we have too many homes that are absent of men, healthy men in the household, the numbers bear themselves. When you start looking at 67, 70% of Black children are growing up without a father in the home, that number is way too high. And we've been glamorizing not just gangster, not realizing that gangster is trauma. It's not healthy to where you can't feel like you can walk down the street and you got to be on guard all the time.
That is not healthy.
That's why when they bring soldiers back from war, they have to go decompress because they can't handle that level of trauma and then be re-engaged in society. And so we've been glamorizing shoot 'em up, bang bang whenever we hear our music and we see it on television, and not understanding how it's impacting the way that our worldview is taken into perspective. And so when we begin to consider something that I was late to the game on, is my education and understanding the strength of being able to expand my thinking and to be able to understand the strength of being able to articulate my thoughts a little differently, because we have a scarred view of what school looks like, because we probably dealt with some stuff in school that we were bullied, we didn't have clothes, we didn't eat, when we got to school and all those things. So school has a bad mark in our memory, not understanding that the educational process is what we were missing out on, or what we are missing out on as we get to be adults. I heard it said once before that every Black man needs one more graduation. I'm saying anybody needs one more graduation in order to be successful. And so when we start considering the things that we need to do in order to climb out of the gutter with our mindset, a part of that is being able to educate ourselves, not just with information that's going to leave us angry, but information that's going to expand our thinking and to start moving us to a space to where we start seeing that, yes, I can be a Black president, and whether you agree with Barack Obama's politics or not, that was something none of our ancestors could have ever dreamed of. And I'm talking about not our deep ancestry. I'm talking about our parents, our grandparents, the people that are still alive. They never would have imagined to see a Black man in the office. But if we continue to find ways to comfort ourselves in you bad, I'm bad too, but we'll just be bad together, and you're not lifting each other up and figuring out what we need to do in order to keep pulling ourselves out of the mud, we can't change the narrative, because we're staying in the same spot, and we're wallowing in the mud together. I'm sorry, I wanted to be brief, Mr. Evans. Go ahead, Doc.
That's okay. You know what? I'm gonna take this back a little bit further for us. Maybe there's a younger person that is watching this and may not understand something as well. The Oklahoma bombs. I hope that everybody got 19, Black Wall Street. That's what I'm getting at. That time back in the early 1910s. Then you go a little bit further, you jump a little bit further on, you get the government or other people who do not like to see the Black man in the home. If the Black woman, I read a couple of books and I saw a couple of shows on PBS Channel 9 where the Black man could not be inside the home the Black man cannot be inside the home if the woman would receive some type of financial assistance from the government. Right. He couldn't be around.
Right.
So therefore, you start way back. See, I had the pleasure of having to honestly live through seeing 6 generations of my family members were still alive by the time I'm well in my 40s. before my great grandparents started dying off, man. So I got an opportunity to see my great grandmother, who was a slave down in Mississippi, to come up to St. Louis to live in the Pruitt Igos, and to see that my great grandfather couldn't be at home because she was on assistance. So therefore, guess what? You set the mind state and the prevalence for another generation to be a black man to be absent-minded from be absent from the home, and then so it's going to continue. It's a continuous cycle. But then this is the other point I was going to make. So now we're getting work. We have begun to get away from the black man being in the household, being around the children to try to teach them anything. So now you go to you saying defaming our character, the other ethnicities calling us the N-word. Hey, you better not ever pull that with me, because I'm gonna tell you, I don't walk that walk. And then for me to call a black woman out of her name like that, we've gotten so lax in saying, hey, we can go ahead and do it. You gonna say that about my mama? No, not me. You can't. No, dude. I don't know who you think you're talking to. I don't. We should stop doing that. We should stop, because
point. I think, like that goes back. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that just makes sense. It made so much sense to just click. It goes back to what Jerry was saying. We're glamorizing those things. Like, right, we took something that was negative to us. Now we done took it on, and now we're glamorizing. So we're working very hard to be that name. We're working hard to be that status, and that's crazy. It's a crazy.
I hate that we wear it as a badge of honor for St. Louisans that, we're the most violent city in the country. That's the stupidest thing to wear as a badge of honor. I'm sick of that.
Yeah.
But
we've got to change that, man.
But the funny thing is, like the brother said, if we knew our history,
right,
from day one, they've been taking us out of our homes.
Yes.
And the whole goal was to create the woman to take care, be on welfare, and use the government for assistance.
Sure.
I hate going back into them times, but it's still relevant to this day and this point in time.
Very relevant.
Because women understand, I love you, baby, but if you ain't here, we can get more money, and we think this is cool. So we're not even at home. And then as a black man, I gotta fight you to see my child, and then you gotta take me to the system to fight the system to see my child. We're not equipped for that yet. We're not built to take on all them fights. So I gotta fight the black woman that claims she loves me. Then you put me in front of a system that has no respect for me, and now I don't see my kids. And it's my fault now. Now it's my fault.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna say this one thing. I have no problem accepting when I'm wrong or trying to say that was my fault. That's my fault. I can't always point the finger at the other person when it's my fault. Because you know what? You got to learn how to accept some kind of responsibility about something.
Yep.
But and see, the thing is that it really creates this cycle that we've all experienced, and we are very much aware of it, because you do also, so you have on one side of the coin men that are fighting to try and get to their children. But you also have on the other side of the coin some guys that could care less. And they've made a child with this woman that could care less. And here's where the cycle is impacting in our community, is that the woman will allow it to happen. Why? Because there's a real possibility that her father wasn't around. And it just becomes a norm. And so we've got to fight to break this thing of depending on the government for one. We've got to get to a space to where we understand that there are better ways to earn, and we don't have to go to the gutter in order to get what we want financially. We don't have to get over on the system. You get up, you go to work, and you do your job well. Don't be that disgruntled employee. You might be in a job that you just don't like, but you do what you have to do in order to make sure you take care of your family.
And then we gotta learn to not glamorify. Okay, because because now I'm finna go to my women, because I know black women, Lord. Okay, but this is also what we as women need to do. We need to know that we don't need these $200 Prada purses and bad shoes and lashes all week, every day. So we gonna, because then now again the men is like, well, I gotta feed this money, so I need to make more money. It's like, how can we come together and unify and say, okay, you making this amount of money, budget, let's what's important, our priorities, what is the priority? Like, we're gonna live where we can make ends meet and work together as a team. I think we're tearing each other apart with, again, the roles, and then the expectations. You know what I mean? That's how we're coming apart, because we're like, you're expected to go make this amount of money because I need to go do this and that and that. But it's like, no, their basic needs need to be met. And basic needs is like housing, things like that, and food. But everything else, if that comes, it comes great. But if it doesn't, okay, let's make with what we got. And then let's figure out a way to maintain it and then go for others or better or whatever. I think we need to come together. And I guess how do we do that? Like, how can we understand each other? And because I know we are different, men are different from women, but how can we understand one another at some point and come together? I don't know, y'all. I'm just trying.
You got two problems. The one thing that somebody told me in Mr. Tony's class, Mr. Jeffrey's class before that, Mr. Kendall, women are taking care of us. That's one problem. So you got a lot of men that are content with the woman taking care of them. The other problem is you guys are able to make six figures and get higher salaries than we have. So now you got the male ego and pride that's working against them. So you got two conflicting problems. So you got a generation of people that are watching women take care of the men like they're taking care of their boys. So all we creating is a bunch of boys. Then on the flip side of it, we got to get out of our pride and understand that it's okay that you're the registered nurse and you can make $115,000. I might only make 50. I got to be okay with that. And at the end of the day, understand it's a bigger picture that we can take this money and grow it. But the biggest problem I'm seeing is right now is, especially when you talk about employment, these dudes don't want to work because women are taking care of them. The era I grew up was, we took care of women.
It came from the man.
We were supposed to be the ones taking care of women. I didn't understand if a woman want to take care of a man that don't want to work, and they cool with that. So it's a lot of different things that's going on, but I'm going to go back to the kids. Your kids are modeling what they see. If mama taking care of a man, she going to take care of a man. If my dad not working and women are taking care of me, I'm going to do the same thing my dad doing. Everything is a modeling behavior. So what we're seeing is modeling behavior going over and over and over. What they need to see, they're not seeing all the time.
That's a good point, because that goes back to a couple of shows too. Someone mentioned saying a guy, shout out to Alan, that was Alan, he said something about men are, taking women on as their mothers instead of as their women.
Absolutely.
That is
and the son becomes the husband, the brother, the son. He doesn't even know his role no more because kids not even going to school because they got to be the daddy now.
They got to be that's a good one, because I think that's a lot of what Black boys are going through, right? Because women are putting the responsibility now on their sons to be the man, and then they're like pushing it on them at a young age. So you supposed to be a man. You're supposed to be a man. And they're like, they don't even have an example of what a man's supposed to be. So they're like, what am I doing? That's a good one.
When women, and I love my Black women because I came from a Black mama. And I'm not trying to, just bash on women, but, be for real about some of the things that you all are doing. For the men that want to be in the child's life, that want, what? So what? I'm not rich. So what? I'm not the next, I don't know, somebody that's not doing something illegal. I don't have all the money in the world. But you know what? Let me ask you all this one question. How does a kid spell time?
How does a kid?
No, I'm sorry. It's supposed to be the other way around.
He ended up giving the answer. It's all good.
How does a kid spell love? It's time.
Me.
So
I agree. Damien, I totally agree with everything you said. And I think one thing I have to highlight, because you're not the first. Every time I have a conversation with a Black man and they want to hold Black women accountable, they have to say, like, I'm not bashing Black. I don't want y'all to think I'm bashing. And that right there is, again, we have to become uncomfortable and accept criticism from each other. Because if we don't know what's wrong, where we are like not getting the communication, it ain't coming out right, and we get so defensive with each other, we're not going to solve the problems. We have to listen to one another. So I agree. Women need, and I think it's around emotion. A lot of women do things emotionally, and then again, it's the stereotypes, and it's the expectation that women feel like, well, this is what you're supposed to be doing as a father, and they don't really know, because guess what? Their father wasn't there.
Exactly.
You know what, Shavana, if I may,
go ahead.
As far as the criticism, if I may offer that we should critique as opposed to criticize. When I say critique is from a standpoint of, okay, I see what you've been doing. This is how you can do it better. This is how I see you can improve on it. Criticism has such a negative connotation. When we hear criticize, we're only thinking about what we've been doing wrong. And so that's my encouragement. If we can in our community, and I know that we can, and I encourage all of us to adopt that perspective of let's critique as opposed to criticize.
I love
that.
Thank you.
Oh, no doubt, sister. And the other thing too is, so I'm gonna say this lyric. Like Mr. Jeffrey, I'm a big music guy. I don't listen to the music that I used to, but from a Kanye West song, All Falls Down, he was like, but they made us hate ourselves and love their wealth. That's why Shorty's hollering where the ball is at. That stuck with me because that is so true. You know, the society in which we live, they made us hate ourselves and love the wealth that we see of the rich and famous or celebrities. That when we were just talking about relationships and our sisters, and you know, shorties are hollering where the ball is at because they're attracted to that lifestyle. And there is only a certain percentage who is actually living that type of lifestyle. So we go back to what we were talking about with, you know, the average Joe, the average everyday person who's not a celebrity, who's not making six figures. Women might not see that person as attractive because, as we were just talking about, they're able to make six figures now, and they're able to matriculate to positions that that were not available before. And so when we think about, you know, how do we really get to a healthy space of loving one another and being in a relationship and parenthood, you know, we really have to have a sober view of what it means to make a living. And in my perspective, you know, we have to love ourselves so that we're not chasing these images and things that we see in society of what life, quote unquote, should look like for everybody, because that's not true. Everybody is not going to be a millionaire or a billionaire. Everybody's not going to make six figures. So for the average everyday person, there is pride in going to work. There is pride in being able to bring in an income to take care of your family, and not, you know, Mr. Evans was saying earlier, not driving a Maserati. You can still be just as okay and secure driving a Honda as opposed to, you know, the most luxurious of cars. So it's really just about having a sober perspective and really understanding what real life is about, and really what it means to be wealthy, and not necessarily just by the things that we have to show off, but truly being secure.
Yes.
You said the word, Mr. Ogie, is security. And bottom line, that's what most people are striving to get to, is a space of security. The issue that we've run into is that we've connected money to security and not understanding that security has more levels to it than money. Because you could be one that has plenty of money, but if you don't budget it right, you're not going to be secure, and you're just going to be chasing after more money. You can be one that makes, you know, whatever you got to do in order to take care of your family. You budget it right, and everybody's secure. And so, bottom line, what we all really want is to be able to know that when I go home, my lights are gonna work, the AC is gonna be fine, the heat's gonna be fine. I've got somewhere to lay my head, and I'm comfortable. And then I got something to eat, and my kids are comfortable. They feel confident within themselves. And that really speaks to security, which is what most people want. And that's why we find women who are pursuing some guy that may have the bag, but because that speaks to security. It speaks to I'm able to do the things that I want to do because I've got these things available to me. And the issue that we're running into is disproportionate thinking. You're way off balance with your thinking. And really what we should be looking for is a balance in how we approach life emotionally. That emotional balance is going to come from a right view of security and not just locking or hanging security on the money hanger, because that's not all that brings security.
I'm gonna go with the real portion Mr. Ogie stated though, man, because here's the problem. With kids and what we're looking at now is not a real way of living, because what they see on TV is so outlandish because it's so fake and so unrealistic to how people are managing their houses and their livelihood. I'm gonna go back to what we grew up on, whether you like it or don't like it. The Huxtables showed you a good side of what a family can look like and going to college. Yeah. Then we're gonna go to good times. You're gonna go to where people lived in the projects, but you had a dad that was still there, a mother that was still there, and a man that was protecting his family and also showing love for his family. Yeah. We grew up watching realistic fathers do realistic things. The BS we look at TV right now, why would you want to be a mother or father? Everybody's starting, everybody's kicking it, and you can't address anybody about anything because, you know, Monique, I'm not a Monique fan for different reasons, but Monique making a valid point. Why the hell do you show up at an airport with some flip-flop on, a gown, or you got some pants down in your kneecaps? Ooh. We get attacked for that. Or you don't know what you're talking about. There is no level of anything no more.
Accountability, and then like I said, goes back to Mr. Ogie and what he said, like people, you can't critique, or you can't, even if people feel like that's not a valid point, she has the right to say that. Yeah. You know what I mean? She has a right to feel the way she feels. And if you don't want to wear your bonnet, okay, you agree with her. But if you do, you don't agree with her. But so what? She still should have the right to address it and say something. But you can't say anything to anybody in today's society. And it's hard. It's hard.
You get cussed out because I'm trying to say something.
Wait a minute. And then if you try to say something, they ready to hang you for it. And what she say? Y'all gonna cut me off, or y'all gonna tell blackball me for saying this? It be your own folks. You're like, really? I'm just trying to help us grow and be better and think a different way. Just be open-minded. And I don't think we have a lot of that either. Open-mindedness in our community anymore.
We're just, I got mad at Bill Cosby. I'm gonna let you go, David. Just one statement. I got mad at Bill Cosby because when he made that statement back in the day, you would spend your last $100 on some tennis shoes. But I was in that mindset back then that made sense to me. But I had to think about it. You're right. I know how many of my friends didn't pay their bills to buy them J's or whatever it is right now. So he has a valid point because we take our last and don't pay our bills just to look a certain way. Yeah. I have to agree with it.
Yeah. Hey, I got to piggyback off of you. You know what? One show you forgot to mention, your own hometown favorite, Fred G. South.
You're right, bro. You're right.
See, that shame on you for not even telling about Fred G. South. But hold on a second. So then you got. I want to mention one more. You said good times, but what about the entrepreneurial spirit for what's my man name? Moving on up.
George
Jefferson.
Yeah.
That whole era, though, bitch. That whole era, bro. Yeah. That whole era showed us how to be
men, man. Hey, now, but you know what? Now I'm gonna say something. You know what? Somebody gonna kick the back of my heel later on. So now we gotta teach our kids how to be shaking the boat a little bit. So now the little boys can't be men. They gotta be funny. Come on, man. Y'all are teaching this, y'all perpetuating this so y'all can eliminate our whole race. Get out of here with that, man. Get out of here with that.
I think so. I want to hit on that too, because when you because that's a touchy. You know, that's another one. You hit on that. They be ready to hang you, baby. They be ready to hang you. So I'm saying to this strength, I do think that it's glamorified again.
I'm gonna say.
No, what? Oh, go ahead. What you was gonna say?
No, I'm just gonna say this. My uncle always told me this. He said, "You know what? I'm getting a little bit too old. You can whoop me, but you can't always do everything to me. So, hey, I'm gonna say what I need to say. If you know what? If it takes me in my life to save another one's life,
Say
I'd
that.
rather lay my life down for mine. And
Mhm.
I ain't gonna never walk away from that.
So
Never.
So what I was gonna say is I do think it's glamorified that our men, our boys have to be to dress into like these women to be funny nowadays, especially on the internet. I feel like everyone has to put on a wig and a dress or some makeup and be funny in the YouTube. And I'm like, why is that? Is that because of, again, we're lacking the men in the home? And they're being raised by all women. Women have taken on the head role, so all they see is this and it ain't all, to me too. I be like, this ain't all black women. Where y'all getting that from? So it's not even a positive light of black women. It's always a negative light. So again, are we taking on the stereotype of what a black woman is, and now our boys only see that, and then they're glamorifying it and saying that this is funny and this is what they're going to get fame off of, is being that. So how do we bring the unity in the black man and the father back to the home?
I think we have to make family vogue again.
Let me say this one thing.
We've gotten away from making family vogue, because even when we talk about the shows that we grew up on, if you're over 40, and then still folks are being able to see the reruns and things of that nature. But if you were over 40, we all know Good Times was never the same after James was gone.
Mm-hmm.
It was never the same. Because and it was indicative of what the black family looked like, is when dad is gone, it's not the same. Mm-hmm. And so and there was tragedy that they how they portrayed James being gone, but we're too quick to burn out on family altogether. And I'm saying this not from a high and mighty stance, because I'm a man who's experienced divorce. Now my wife and I have been married 13 years. But I also understand the impact of families splitting and not staying together. And now that doesn't mean that kids can't function and continue to move on in society, because there are plenty of kids who are coming from homes of divorced parents. Right. But we've got to get to a space to where we make family vogue again. It's the end thing to do. I'll share a quick story, and I'll let it go. I worked a little part-time job so that I could put the money together to pay off the student loan so I could go and complete my master's degree. And while I'm there, a young man, he was in his early 20s, asked me, he saw my ring on my finger. He said, "Hey, OG, you married?" And I said, "Yeah, man." He said, "Are you happy?" I said, "Man, I'm absolutely happy. In fact, I'm looking forward to going home, man. I love my wife." And his response was, "Man, I ain't never met anybody married and happy." Mm-hmm. And this is a young man, and he's about 23, 24 years old. I asked him how old he was at the time. And this was easily 7 years ago. But I just thought to myself, man, how is it that we've gotten to a point to where you don't know anybody that's happily married, but we depict it on television? All these black families, even with Tyler Perry, I know he's a billionaire at this point, but many of the movies that he's showing, that these marriages that seem to be happy, there's something under there and everybody's not happy. No, man, there are black families with husbands and wives that love each other very deeply. We have our stuff, but we work through it. She gets on my nerves, I get on her nerves, but we work through it. And we've got to get to a point where we make family bold again. It's the right thing to do, instead of smack it up, flip it, rub it down, and move on. It's got to be something different than that.
You know what, Mr. Jeffrey, I'll go back to, excuse me, what I said earlier about knowing our identity, our purpose.
Yeah.
Another aspect of fatherhood is thinking about legacy and generations.
Yeah.
And something that I've heard you say in class is, as men, we can stop dreaming when we get to a point where we don't know if we're even going to live to see the next day. Yeah. So, dreams, goals, what's that? I'm just living and hoping that I can make it until tomorrow.
Right.
So, we talk about planning our families. That's something too that should be vogue. We plan. We plan. Like, this just wasn't an oops. This just wasn't a one night stand. This just wasn't okay, she and I were kicking it, slipped up, like we as men have to be healthy. We have to be whole. We have to have, and we go back to the mentorship piece, excuse me. We have to have other Black men who are healthy and whole pouring into us and showing us the right way. We need coaches. We need people who can love on us, but coach us up and show us that this is the better way to go, so that we're able to make proper decisions, not just for the moment, but these decisions that will uh, be for a lifetime and set some things into place for our children. And so from our previous generations and going back to the village that you talked about, Mr. Kendall, we had men who were intentional about what they wanted their families to look like. They were passing down names. They were naming their children with the intent of, okay, my father gave me this name, I'm going to give you this name, and it's going to keep passing down through legacies and generations so that it doesn't fade away. And so just getting to a point where we understand why we're here, why we want to be father. That's another part too. Why do you want to be a father? Think about that. And moving in that direction of where we're having our children on purpose and not just because of an oops.
Well, you almost made me clap when you said that.
That is a good clap, please, because that's valid. I think that's one thing that's going to stop a lot of the back and forth, a lot of the child support issues, and all of that. Is if you're having an intent to be like, I'm really finna build a family with this person, and not just like you said, oops, oh, she hot, I'm humping on it for the night, and then here comes the baby. Now you got to figure out how to deal with her along with trying to raise a kid, and you don't even really know her. So yeah.
And I would jump in one more before I leave real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to, again, everything has to be mirroring of what we need to see. So we need happy families to come back into our community. We need that elderly family to come back and have conversations with our youth of what it looks like to have a village and to have a real family. We cannot keep on looking at the same brokenness over and over and over again. We got to start seeing this because, unfortunately, our kids are visual. They need to see healthy families. They got to see how a healthy family looks like. They got to see that you actually used to sit at the meal table together. When people start seeing on a regular basis, we're going to create that. But as long as we still seeing this dysfunctionality, everything that we're talking about today is irrelevant because we are, again, cool with how it looks. Sooner or later, we're going to have to stop being cool with how we're done as a culture. Killing is not going to have to be cool. Parenting, all that stuff that we're talking about right now, sooner or later as a culture, we got to realize that this is not cool and this is not how we brought up.
Amen.
Yes, Mr.
I love you, dear. Thank you for the.
Yes, I am in the same boat as well.
Thank you.
I do appreciate you for being here. I know you're busy and you got some stuff to get to. I do want to take a moment to give Damien. Did you had something that you want to say before I move on real quickly?
You know what? Yeah, I was going to say, you know what? You're talking about the kids, but we're feeding as adults. We're feeding into watching the soap operas of the Housewives of Atlanta. You all had have the house, to sit around the season finales of.
You're on mute, brother. You're muted.
Yeah, you muted yourself.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was saying that, there are TV shows that we all have started because I would say I started out watching a couple of TV shows myself that I think that polluted my mind frame. I had to pull away from that. Just like, if I can't find someone that's on a like level mind in me and I'm ready to go to another plateau in life, guess what? I'm gonna be stuck in that same old rut, in that same old era if I continue to be around the same old nonsense continuously. One guy told me, he said, I was listening to this guy told me, he said that he had watched an older gentleman he was selling drugs to, and he was saying that he was trying to get to another, he was trying to say to the older gentleman that Now, the older gentleman said he didn't want to go anywhere. He wanted to stay in the same old revolving circle that he had seen all his life. So his son started selling drugs, and so now you're pushing this stuff on down to your son. Now your grandkids gonna fall into it. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is this: that when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same old rhetoric, you got to change something. You have to, because if you don't, your kids, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, somebody gonna have the same old story to say about granddaddy, daddy, great granddaddy, and it don't make sense. When are we going? And so, if our women want something that's going to say it's going to be uplifting, like I used to hear my grandmother say about my grandfather, and my great grandmother say about my great grandfather, or the men would go up, they'll go work, they had no problem with working. But now we got a shame about being a hard worker, coming home with a blue collar on. So what if it's not white collar? Even if it's a white collar, still get up and go to work, man. You got people to depend on you. So I wish the best to everybody on that.
So it's a lot. It's a lot of, it's going to take more than, of course, this conversation is going to take more than this podcast. It's a lot, but what I do think, and what we're always saying, is that we have to normalize things like this, these conversations, the different aspect of what real fatherhood looks like, and make sure that we glamify and support those things instead of the things that we're now glamifying as a culture. But I do want to, and that's again why I'm so excited that you all are here from the Fathers and Family Support Center, because I do love that I can highlight great organizations that is supporting fathers and Fathers and Family Support Center. What is it? Where can people access it? How can people support? How can people get involved? Please go ahead, Mr. Jeffrey. Let us know about the Families and Fathers Support Center.
All right, Fathers and Family Support Center has been around a little over 25 years. We were established in St. Louis by our great founder, who has since passed, maybe a couple months ago at this point, Mr. Howard Sullivan. It is a program that is designed to help men be the most effective man they can be for the betterment of their children. Our goal is to impact kids through fathers. And so we work with men in order to help them to become whole, emotionally, financially, and things of that nature, in order to make sure that they can have the most positive impact in their children's lives as possible. We work with them in order to help them have healthier relationships with the children, with the mother of their children, if they're not in the homes. If they are in the homes, we want them to have healthier relationships. So we talk through relationship building and things of that nature from that perspective. We also talk through financial awareness. We have a financial advisor to come in and speak from a perspective of being financially healthy, understanding credit, understanding what it takes in order to steer clear of predatory lending, all those different things. So we talk about several different aspects about manhood, and from child rearing to everything that's necessary. It's a 6-week program, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. So it's like boot camp. And our mantra is no excuses. And so we want to maximize all of the resources that we have available for our men, so that they can walk out of there feeling equipped to take on whatever challenges that men face when they leave from our organization. And so we give them tools to take on life. And so that's what we do. And we strive to do with everything we have. And so that I hope that's not a 15-second elevator speech, but at least hopefully I got your attention with what we do.
Yes, and I'm going to let Mr. Damien talk about his experience real quick, and then we're going to end out. But I do want to put on the spotlight that this program is not only in St. Louis, you also have a home in East St. Louis.
We are in East Boogie. Yes, we are.
I like how you said that. So for those who are watching, we do have a center in St. Louis, and these guys are actually part of the one in East St. Louis. And Mr. Jerry, I think, was part of the St. Louis location. So there's 2 locations, and so that means you guys are really touching home.
Well, we've got several locations.
Oh, you have several locations.
Yeah, there are a total of 5 locations, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head.
Okay, but you just serve East St. Louis.
Well, we just serve East St. Louis, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Mr. Odie can actually give you the information on how to contact us, and if you're interested in taking part of our program, he can help you with that.
All right. Well, Mr. Damien, can you give us a insight on what your experience was like being part of the Family and Father Support Center?
I remember the first day I walked in. I can't lie. I walked in, met Brother Ogie, and he was like, "Hey, hey." I was like, "Who is this guy? He seemed real." I ain't gonna lie. The guy's real. He is real. He's open to making you feel like you're welcome, not to feel like you should be ashamed of, the situation that you may have going on. And I took about 15, 20 more steps in. He introduced me to brother Jeffries, and he was like, "This is Brother Jeffries." I looked at him. I said, "Man, what have I got myself into?" And I was the only guy in class this one day. So the next day I come in, I got two more other brothers to come in and sit with mom. So I was like, you know what? So I got to let some of my steam out of that had been built inside of me. Some of the stuff you carry on as a black man, you talk about rage. But see, black women, y'all don't understand the pressure that I may go through, because you know what? This black woman I dealt with, I'm just for instance, this black woman I dealt with, she's making me feel a certain type of way. She won't let me see my kids. She won't do this. She won't do that. You don't know what type of emotional feeling that puts on a man's mind, his heart, and his spirit.
Mm.
So honestly, talking to these two guys, no, realistically, probably seven guys, and meeting other women that came in to talk to us, I kid you not, I learned a great deal, man. And it's not only just about learning from these men, but it's learning about myself too, who I am as an individual. And I was not afraid to open up to these two men, a panel of guests, um, other individuals that may have come in to teach us about certain things. And if you have a closed mind, Frey, just like having a closed fist,
Mm.
if you're not open up that hand, you ain't gonna absorb nothing. It can be all over in a matter of time, and you're gonna be like, "What did I do?" And I'm serious. This program has literally helped me to open my mind up some more.
Mm.
I already had, it was my brain wasn't closed minded to want to come to this program. First of all, it was open so that I could meet these people to show me a different way in a different realm of life than what I've already experienced.
Mm.
And this program helped me a lot.
Well, I am so excited to hear that. And I'm
excuse
glad
me,
that
if I may piggyback on that.
Oh, go ahead.
That's the key. It's being
You said that's the key.
okay.
Okay. That's the key. Go ahead.
Okay, the internet connection, and so I just wanted to make sure that it's all good. Because Mr. Heavens just said it, like being open-minded. That's the way that a person benefits from everything that we have to offer. And when I first came to the organization, like I didn't understand how much we really offer our participants. We have therapists on our staff
Mm-hmm.
who offer their services at no charge. And we have one in particular, he always shares his story. He says he charges $125 per hour, or either per hour or per session.
Actually, it's 150.
And so I want to make sure that I say it correctly. So I know it's 125 for sure. I just can't remember in the moment if it's per hour or per session. My point though is the participants who come through our program receive those services at no charge at all. We deal with the whole man. And the goal, just like Mr. Jeffrey said, the goal is to reach the children through the father. And the methods that we use are meant to make that father whole and healthy at the end of the day. However, he has to have an open mind, because it's going to be stuff that we introduce that might not have ever been on his radar. Or there might have been some things on his radar. He just was either closed off to it, or it was just uncomfortable to the fact of, I'm just not going to do this because I'm uncomfortable with doing it, and I don't want to put myself out there. Like you said, we're doing this podcast, Shavannah. I don't want to put myself out there to get a different result. I just rather stay where I am, because being different, changing is uncomfortable and new to me. So that's what we really look to just tackle the whole man. I mean, health and nutrition, as Mr. Jeffrey said, the financial literacy piece, family therapy,
all aspects of a man.
all
Aspects of a man. Because I think someone said it perfectly. Like, we can't limit fatherhood or men to one thing. It's so many different aspects of them, and
absolutely.
it's so many things that to tackle into. But you guys are doing that there at the family, and then you're doing it as Black men. Because I hear you, Damien, and I agree that women you can't make a man. I just, that's not, because you don't know, we don't have the nature to be that, just as men don't have the nature to be women. So it has to be a partnership within our community for men, a menship. Like, men need each other as much as they need a woman in different aspects. Y'all get what I'm saying? Like, the mentorship is definitely a big thing. And I feel like, because now a lot of men don't trust each other, especially in our community. They're not even trusting each other to be bros anymore. So we definitely have to tackle that. For time's sake, I know you guys got a lot going on. I know it's like almost Father's Day weekend and all of that good stuff. So I know people are out here tapping into you all. I just want to say again, thank you for sharing this space with me.
Thank you for having us on.
No, I appreciate the conversation. Thank you, Mr. Damien, for bringing on your story. I appreciate you all, everyone that was on the show. If y'all listening, again, tap into Father and Family Support Center. They have 2 locations. Uplift our fathers. We know Father Day is next weekend. Let's glamorify great fathers, because Black fathers, we know, matter, and they are out here doing some stuff. We just need to keep supporting them, and we need to support them how they need to be supported, how they want to be supported. So that is tapping into and listening to them. Okay. So y'all, that is going to be it, unless y'all got some closing remarks that y'all want to say before we really end on this note. We good?
Shavannah,
Okay.
Thank you so much for allowing us this space. And we appreciate this opportunity, to Dr. McCaskill as well for his efforts in coordinating this.
Yes, shout out to Dr. McCaskill. He was on our Black Men Heal segment. He gave us a touch about, which I feel was another one that in the Black men that I needed to address, because I want to see my Black men, all of them, healthy, holistically healthy. And that's mental, emotional, spiritually, along with the financial and all of the rest. But those 3 right there, someone said it best. If you ain't got emotional and spiritual and mental together, money ain't gonna even matter. You heard me? Money ain't gonna even matter. So we need to make sure that we're right. It's gonna bring you more problems. Okay. So if you ain't mentally ready and all dealing with all of that, it's just gonna bring more trauma. And let's heal that trauma. So we could be great. So y'all could be great fathers. Okay. So that is it, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to the Hood Talks podcast. This is the last live show of the month, but we do have a show coming up. It won't be live, but it will be available around June 29th, where we're talking back to the land. We're talking to urban farmers, and we're talking about food equity and farming and all that good stuff. So tune in to the Hood Talks podcast. Again, it won't be a live show, but it will be available on all our platforms. And I will also upload the video to Facebook and YouTube, where you can tap into all of our segments and our shows. And that will end our June. And then July, we talked about mentorship, which is important, but we do have a show, Black Men Mentors, that I will be doing in July. And also we're talking about no more Superwoman. We are tackling that, ladies, because I think that's important, and it kind of talks about what Damien is talking about. So we will be talking about all that stuff, y'all. That is how we're coming in July, and this is how we're going to end off our June. So again, y'all, thanks for tuning in. We're out. I'll talk to you all later.
I want to be on that show.
What show are you talking about?